Let me tell you about one of the most bizarre and frankly unsettling stories in all of medical history. Back in the 18th century, there was a man in France whose appetite was so monstrous it became the stuff of legend. This is the story of a man named Tarrare and his hunger that knew no limits. Okay, let's just get right to it. We have to confront the darkest question that hangs over this entire story. It's a horrifying thought, I know, but it's the central mystery that haunted everyone who ever met him. And honestly, it's what defines his legacy today. So, who was this guy? And how did he develop this completely unnatural hunger? To really get a handle on the legend, we gotta start at the beginning. I want you to try and imagine living back in the 18th century. There's no modern medicine, no real understanding of these things. And then a guy like Tarrare shows up. His hunger wasn't just big, it was bottomless, almost supernatural. He actually became a bit of a celebrity. People would pay to watch him eat. But that fame definitely came with a heavy dose of fear. Now, there is a medical term for what he had. It's called polyphagia. Just slapping that label on him really doesn't do it justice. Tarrare's case was so far beyond anything in the medical books, it's still one of the most extreme examples ever documented. So, before he was a medical mystery, what did he do? He became an entertainer. I guess to survive, he basically turned his curse into a street show. People would gather around and throw money at him to watch him eat, almost anything. We're talking swallowing live animals whole. It was this gruesome, bizarre spectacle that was all built around his unbelievable condition. But a life as a street performer couldn't last forever. His insatiable hunger was about to put him on a collision course with the authorities. So his life takes this really dramatic turn when he joins the French Revolutionary Army. He was probably just looking for steady meals, right? But army rations, they weren't even close to enough for him. His hunger was so bad he was totally useless as a soldier. For the military doctors, Tarrare was a logistical mule.
And at the same time, this incredible scientific puzzle. I mean, how do you feed a man who is literally never full? They started studying him, testing the limits of his appetite. But absolutely nothing could have prepared them for the true depths of his compulsion. And this is where the story takes a much, much darker turn. Inside the walls of that hospital, away from the public eye, Tarrare's hunger just spiraled into something genuinely terrifying. To say the doctors were horrified, that is a massive understatement. Think about it. These were men of science. They were used to the brutalities of war. But what they saw with Tarrare, it went way beyond medicine. It shook them to their absolute core. And their horror was completely justified. His hunger drove him to cross the ultimate taboo. The hospital staff started noticing that bodies were disappearing from the morgue. And eventually, they caught Tarrare in the act. Eating human remains. His condition was pushing him to do the unthinkable. You would think eating corpses from the morgue would be the absolute rock bottom, a horrifying new low. But the situation was about to escalate to something much, much worse. One, a 14-month-old child disappeared from a hospital ward. And just like that, the man who ate everything wasn't a medical curiosity anymore. He was the prime suspect. Can you imagine that moment? A baby is gone. Every doctor, every nurse, every single person in that hospital all looked straight at Tarrare. I mean, everything they'd seen him do, after catching him in the morgue, how could they not suspect him? The question just hung there in the air. Did he, the child? Tarrare was driven out of the hospital, and he basically just disappeared. But the final chapter of his story, that would be written years later on an autopsy table.
When Tarrare eventually died, the same doctors who'd studied him saw their one big chance. And what they found, it was astounding.
His stomach was so massive that it had ballooned to fill nearly his entire abdominal cavity. So, all of this leaves us with the ultimate question. The autopsy proved there was a biological command driving his hunger. But does that excuse his actions? Was he just a victim of a medical condition? Or did his choices actually make him a monster?